This is the voice of the Republic, and it starts now.
Do you love your tax dollars? Do you love spending your money onto something that eventually is going to kill you? Do you love the idea of your money going to your neighbor's house? Do you love the idea that all of your hard earned money and all of your children's hard earned money is going to go somewhere where it's not theirs? Well, if you love that idea, you probably love NATO. NATO is an evil, satanic organization. Same goes for the UN, and same goes for the entire EU. Now we're gonna talk about it. Now we even have some statistics. You can see me from this scene, and we have some statistics that we're gonna go through. It's nothing special. It's nothing crazy. We're just gonna go and talk about why certain Americans, instead of fighting over this and that, should really fight over this, because this is really the big thing. Because if you don't fight over this, you're really not going to fight over something that's important, because this is what's actually important. Other things are not that important. Like, you arguing about Israel is not that important as this. This is actually genuinely important. So this whole idea is NATO. NATO is basically European defense, and people are gonna tell you NATO is not European defense. That's a lie, and I can explain why that's a lie. Uh, NATO is not overly welcome to America. Their largest donor. Now, why is NATO not overly welcome to their largest donor? I don't know. Like, shoot me, I genuinely don't know. But they're not really welcome of America and of America's military ideas and military defense. And same goes for Israel. They're, again, this not at all connected with Israel. Now we grab NATO, and I looked at the numbers, and these are rough numbers. These are rough. These are not perfect, but this is gonna give you a good picture of what we're talking about right here. Because like we can grab some specific numbers and other charts, but we're grabbing this one because this one is the most iconic. And obviously, things being accurate is much important than things being pretty, but it depends. If your audience cannot get a clear picture of what's happening, I don't see it being worth it. But this is roughly almost perfect. So we're gonna use these statistics, and these statistics are not brand new. These statistics have been the one statistic we have is from 2020. The other statistic we have is hold on, I can just do it like this. The other statistic we have is from 2023, and we got this thing. This statistic is from 2003. So yes, we're just going to move that and put that there. Right. Now, what was I talking about? NATO is a evil organization. If you're a American man, if you're a American man, NATO is evil. NATO serves you no good. NATO is a negative thing for you. NATO is not a positive thing. You don't. If you're American, you don't go in and say, "Oh yes, NATO." You say, "Oh no, NATO," because NATO is genuinely evil. NATO is not serving you well. NATO is feeding the enemy. And I'm not saying that the European people, the people from Germany, France, Croatia, Serbia, Bosnia, really. Serbia, Austria. I'm not saying that those people are evil and those people are necessarily the enemy, but I am saying that the more we keep funding them, a much bigger problem is going to arise, and that problem is um, giving someone a hand to get up and them chopping your hand off and selling it on the dark web. That's really what's happening here. Americans have been overwhelmingly nice to Europeans, and they got nothing from Europeans. People criticize Americans for saying roughly 3 million or more to Israel, Well, we're doing the same thing, but we're doing 860 billion for Europeans. 860 billion. But we're gonna go back to that number. So everyone that has an outrage for Europe, I mean outrage for Israel and not an outrage for Europe, this is gonna kind of twist your mind a little bit and kind of show you, maybe Israel is not our big problem. Maybe Israel getting our money and spending a lot of that money on our equipment, and Israel giving us intel that has helped us over the years, and then people are gonna bring it back to the SS Liberty, and they're gonna bring it back to um, I mean, yeah, basically SS Liberty. You already know they're gonna bring that up, and they're gonna bring up dancing Israelis, which was a conspiracy theory around 9/11. Uh, in We can go in and we can debunk those things one by one, again and again and again, like Charlie Kirk did, like Ben Shapiro did, like all of these guys did. We're not going to do that. We're going to look into this new problem, which is much bigger. And Israel is not our problem. Israel is not a problem. Israel is a solution. Europe is a problem. Europe is not a problem because they don't keep the same values as us. Europe is not a problem because they don't have the same ideas as us. Europe is a problem because they're in the middle of the road. Well, when we compare Europe, when we compare Germany, and I'm gonna take some countries outside of Europe. When we compare Germany, Canada, and Australia, and Austria, when we compare those countries are in different places. Some more near, some a bit farther away. But those countries have certain ideas that align with our ideas. Those ideas being free market capitalism. Those ideas being um, being able to walk outside in a little bit more of revealing clothes without, being stoned to death. Those are the type of ideas that we're talking about here. But when it comes to, the other side of the world, which is, let's say, the Middle East, besides Israel, we have no one there. There is no one in the Middle East that we can go and say, yes, we do like those ideas, like their way of living. We cannot say that for the Middle East at all. We look at the Middle East, we see bad country, bad country, bad country, bad country, bad country. We see bad countries one after another. We can go in and just keep counting again and again and again. But it makes no sense to go in and count again and again and again. We acknowledge that the European countries, Canada and Australia, those countries are pretty good. Those countries compared to the Middle East are pretty good. Those countries just compared to the Middle East, compared to the rest of Africa, if we're not including the Middle East, comparing to the rest of the world, those countries are pretty decent. But then this is the big problem. The reason why I said is that those countries are in the middle of being similar to us. That is a big problem. Now, what does it mean to be in the middle of a lifestyle of a culture like America? Well, it's in the middle. It is not fully to the right like America, and it is again not fully to the left or south or wherever like the Middle East where you get stoned to death for being a woman. No, or for being gay, or for being black, or for being Jewish, or for being Christian. It is not that bad. But again, we say that it's in the middle of the road type of a thing. Because Europe, Australia, Canada, they don't have guns. You cannot go in and, go to a shop, get yourself a gun. Again, it's not as easy as I'm saying it right now. I'm just trying to, visualize it for you guys. It is not as easy for you to just go into a shop and buy a gun. But again, in America, in pretty much every state, and in some states really easily, you go into a gun shop and you go in and buy yourself a gun. There's a process and whatnot. We're not going to get into that. The main thing is, in America, you can go in and buy a gun. That's pretty cool. That's pretty good. That's the Second Amendment, right? That's the Second Amendment, which is a part of the Constitution. Now, that is good. That aligns with the American values. Now, what doesn't align with the American values is not being able to own a gun. And Europeans are going to say, well, no, you can actually own a gun, but it's a bit stricter. Well, no, it is not stricter. In 90% of European countries, not 90, it's in 99% of European countries, when you go to buy a gun, you cannot, there's no, John's gun shop 50 miles away from you. There's nothing like that in Europe. There's a few gun shops, and when you want to buy a gun, there's unbelievable regulations. There's regulations. Well, now they're trying to pass some regulations that I saw on television. Is now they don't want you to have semi-automatic rifles. Now they want you to have only bolt-action rifles for hunters. So, you shoot once, you missed. There's no bang bang. There's only tung and then reload. So it's a shit show. When it comes to gun rights, it's a complete shit show. Now we're going to acknowledge why that's a shit show. We can look into statistics of the. We're not going to look into these statistics today. We're going to look in why NATO and Europe are not really our best friend, like they're saying. And I'm not saying Israel is perfect, but I'm saying if you look at Israel in the Middle East compared to every country in the Middle East, Israel is like a heaven. Israel is like a Jesus-like heaven. But we're not gonna look at the gun statistics. We're going to look at the statistics about why Europe is not good for us, why they are robbing us billions and billions, trillions of dollars. Eventually, obviously, we go in Europe, you cannot buy a gun. In Europe, you have unbelievable regulations on gun. And in Europe, when you do buy a gun, you cannot defend yourself. This is not a myth. This is not a joke. In Europe, if you buy a gun for hunting, you can hunt with it. If somebody in a European country breaks in the country, which is in the European Union, if somebody breaks into your house and they want to go and kill you, they go upstairs to kill you and your children. When you grab your semi-automatic gun or your bolt-action rifle, you shoot him in the head and he drops dead. You know what's happening. Or he gets wounded. If the guy that robbed you is still alive, they're going to put him in handcuffs and put him in jail. You know what's going to happen to you because you used that gun? You're going to jail. Why? Because you went against the European Union's laws, against all of these regulations, because you cannot use a gun to defend yourself. If you see a 12-year-old getting raped by a certain person, which, we're not going to say who, or people that are known for doing that by their statistics, illegal immigrants, obviously. If you go in and grab your gun and shoot that person, you are going to jail. That person is going to die or go to jail, but you are 100% going to jail. There's no avoiding it. You are going to jail. You're an evil person for the European government, for the government of that country that you're in, Germany, Austria. And that's a huge problem. The fact that if somebody breaks into your house and you get arrested for that, that is an unbelievable problem. That is breaking your right to self-defense, which is a Judeo-Christian idea, which it's a thing that occurs throughout the whole Bible. So if you're a Jew or a Christian, it goes completely against your religion. But do not worry, all the Muslims they have the right to express themselves. We should maybe implement Sharia law. When your country gets that corrupted, you genuinely need to start asking yourself, am I actually fighting on the right side? Obviously, the Middle East is horrible. Obviously, Nazis were horrible. Those are all things that we can acknowledge as Americans, Europeans, as anyone. But when you go in and you see that you cannot defend yourself with a gun that you bought, that is, to me, that's insane. Now, why I said 99% of countries is because there's a country called Switzerland. I'm a big fan of the country, not just because I'm moving there in less than a month, but also because in Switzerland you can own a gun. In Switzerland, it's mandatory for a couple of people. Like, I don't know how does it work. It's like 100 people, and then or like a 10 people, and every 10 person needs to have a gun. So Switzerland has the highest gun population, and it's the safest country in Europe. Unlike these Nordic countries, unlike every country in Europe, it's unbelievably unsafe, especially now with time going on. But Switzerland is safe, and it's getting safer, so it's really good. And especially they're really strict on illegal immigration, so that's phenomenal. They have a good legal immigration route, unlike these other countries which have a weak legal immigration route and basically getting flooded by illegal immigration. So people get those words a bit twisted, like legal immigration and illegal immigration. I don't love to use the word migrant and immigrant. It's stupid. Just use illegal immigration and legal immigration. It's much easier to use those terms. Now, why is Europe robbing America? We can get into that real quick. We can look into these numbers. This is unbelievable. When you look into this is actually unbelievable. So, if we look here, we can look that numbers from 2023 uh, for NATO. America is uh, America is giving Europeans $860 billion. $860 billion. The second country that's giving the second largest amount is Germany. There, let me remind you: number one, America, 860 billion. Number two, Germany, 68 billion. 68. So you're trying to tell me that America is giving you $860 billion, that, and then Germany's giving you $69 billion. Canada's giving you $29 billion. France is giving you $56 billion. Italy's giving you $31 billion. Turkey's giving you $15 billion. We can keep going on and on and on. Chechnya is giving you $5.8 billion, $5.08 billion. Romania is giving you $8.5 billion. These are funny numbers. These are things that we can only laugh at because this is unacceptable. This is horrible. This is horrible for the American people, and this is horrible for Europeans as well. If you don't acknowledge that this is horrible for Europeans, you are selfish. You have this socialist ideology, which completely goes against Europe. And Europe was fighting socialism throughout history, and Europe was fighting communism throughout history. So how can you actually go in and support? How can you go in and support socialism when it has been proven that it doesn't work? Socialism and communism has been proven that it doesn't work, and it has been proven that it killed millions of people just because somebody had an idea. Somebody had an idea that was extremely horrible, and first of all, biblically, it doesn't work. Biblically, it doesn't work. Bible warned us about this thing. Bible said that we should give out of our own heart. We should give to a man who is, I'm not going to say broke, who is poor. A poor person is someone who doesn't have legs and arms and cannot work. But it says that we should never give to a person who is not poor, who is just like us, but doesn't want to work. It teaches us, and I'm not quoting these things. I'm giving my rough explanation of these Judeo-Christian verses, or just Christian verses. It learned us, don't give a man a fish, learn him how to fish. But because if you learn him how to fish, he's never going to be hungry for the rest of his life because he's going to know how to fish. But if you give him fish, obviously he's going to be not hungry that day, maybe, or for a couple of hours. But again, he's going to become hungry because he doesn't have, the work ethic, and also he doesn't have the knowledge how to fish. So that's the reason why we should learn people how to fish instead of, giving them fish. And Germany and America is giving us a lot of fish, and Germany's not giving us actually a lot of fish, since I did mention them. America's giving us a lot of fish. America's giving a European Union a lot of fish. America's giving NATO a lot of fish. And that fish is basically not even getting used. That fish is getting thrown right back to the sea. And it's dead fish. It's not even a live fish. So it's just a fish flopping, a dead corpse of a fish just flopping back into the ocean. And that does not work. Now, why doesn't that work? And you might think I am just this anti-European warmonger who just loves war and, is a stupid evangelical Zionist. No, I mean, yes, I'm evangelical Zionist, but no, I'm not a warmonger. No, I am not against the Europe. I love Europe. I love what it used to be. I don't love it as much as America, obviously. I'm always going to have alliance mostly to America and always to America first. It's always going to be America first for me. But again, I have to go in and acknowledge these things. When we give them a lot of money, that it goes completely against what we stand for. That goes completely against the capitalist ideology. That goes completely against free markets. That goes completely against our Judeo-Christian history, which is shared by the Bible and is shared by the Ten Commandments and is shared by the Jewish, 100 and whatnot commandments. So that's the reason why we need to abolish NATO. NATO doesn't have to be abolished. NATO can keep being its thing. The UN can keep being its thing, and the EU can keep being its thing. But there's one thing that absolutely needs to happen, and that thing is America needs to step out, and America needs to say, we are not going to give you any money. If it was up to me, I would say, we're not giving you any money. We're dropping out. And unless you start giving us all the money that we gave you back, we're going to turn against you in every war and in every attack. And you're not going to have any of our support. But what I think America should do is instead say, we're going to, match Spain at $19 billion. And everybody's going to have outrage. Well, Germany's giving us 68 billion dollars. Why are you giving us 19 billion dollars like Spain? Well, we're giving you 19 billion dollars like Spain because, before we were giving you 860 billion dollars and Germany was giving you 68 billion dollars. When you're giving them hundreds and 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 hundreds of billion dollars and you don't appreciate it. And then when we give you the same amount of money, uh, that other countries were giving us before. Now you're like, well, no, you need to pay more. Well, we actually don't need to pay more. America doesn't need to pay more. If you're an American taxpayer, you do not need to pay more. And you need to have an outrage over this, not over Israel. You need to have an outrage over this because this is the main problem. This is actually what is ruining the alliance between America and Europe. And why is it ruining the whole alliance? I'm going to explain it real simply. Europe does not have their own military. Europe relies on America's military. Why is that a negative thing? For Europeans, that might seem like a positive thing, but let's think about this. If America wakes up and says, we should not fund this is pretty stupid, we should not fund this at all. If America stops funding it, there's two options that will happen. Europe is going to start building their military and cut all of their socialized benefits. That means socialized college, that means socialized healthcare, and that means maybe even some other socialized benefits. They're going to get rid of all of that so they can fund the military. And then maybe then, when they start developing their military, and if they don't get attacked, they can still survive. The other option is they keep the benefits and they completely die out. Because let's be honest, if they keep socialized benefits, if they go in and keep socialized benefits like socialized healthcare and like socialized colleges, and really they should get rid of socialized middle school and high school because they're really in a bad place right now. They have no military really. Compared to America, they have no military. America would slaughter them in a second. Now, if they did that, that would be a smart move. That would be a move that would be able to, keep Europe on the edge. Give them the money that they deserve from their own government and funding it into the military, which they should do a long, long time ago. So if they do that, that's going to be actually a really smart move. If they don't do that, they're going to have a downfall. They're going to have the worst downfall. It's going to be worse than Rome. It's going to be the biggest downfall ever. It's going to be it's going to be really bad. Because if we just think about this for a second, let's just think about this. If you have no military and you go into a war and America cuts all the funding, you're going to use those leftovers and you're going to die out. You do not have the military to defend yourself. That is an unbelievably big problem. It's not a big problem. You know what's not a big problem? Socialized benefits, socialized healthcare, socialized college, socialize this, socialize that. These food stamps, this for disabled, this. That's not a big problem. You can cut that off. That's not going to be a big problem. But if you don't have a military in your country, that's going to be a huge problem, especially knowing that China and Russia are right next to you. Those people are the problem. America's not the problem. America's funding you. And we go in and we say we keep these socialized benefits and we keep socialized healthcare and we keep socialized college. Why not? Well, I mean, look at these numbers. Look at these numbers, right? These are the rape statistics for Europe. This is unbelievable, and this is 2023, so it got even worse by now. England, 2008% of getting raped, 36,000. 36% chance that you get raped. In 2023, your chance of getting raped in beautiful England is 117 higher percent chance of getting raped. So France, Sweden, all of these countries are going down. And look, even Switzerland is going up a little bit when it comes to rape statistics, but much less than other countries. So Switzerland is going good. Obviously, Poland is going good. Poland is doing good, really, only because of their immigration stance, but basically on everything else, Poland is doing really bad. Gun rights, no free market capitalism. Poland is not that good as people say. The only reason why right wing conservatives talk positively about Poland is what I can definitely acknowledge, and that is the immigration and the illegal immigration, how they carry it out. But again, I have to say, compared to other things that are important to, you know, just Christian nationalists like me is like gun rights and free market capitalism. That those things are not phenomenal in those countries compared to Switzerland and America. So we go in and look at this. England, England, uh, 200 and your chance of getting raped went up for 221%. So that means that your chance went up for 200. That is double. And if we look at the newer statistics, it's going to be even worse. Sweden, your chance of getting raped went up by 58%. Finland, your chance of getting raped France, your chance of getting raped went up by 279%. Finland, your chance of getting raped went up by 147%. These are unbelievably sad numbers to even look at. This is sad. This is the definition of sad. This is horrible. The fact that this is happening is making me sad. This is horrible. This is horrible. This is disgusting. And even the country that I was born in, look at this. Croatia, which one is great? Your chance of getting raped went up by 151%. These are sad numbers. This is unbelievably sad to look at. This is sad. We are funding their military so they can fund their socialized benefits. So the illegal immigrants, when they come in, they can abuse all of these benefits. They can go to a hospital. They can get a treatment. They can go out. They don't pay any taxes. So you're funding it, the European taxpayer. And then you go in and you want to go to a hospital. You know what happens when you want to go to a hospital? You go to a hospital. Let's say you need a stitch. Let's say you have a bruise. Let's say you have like a small infection somewhere. You go for a checkout. You need to wait 5 months, and then when you wait 5 months, it might get extended a little bit. And I know from personal experience, it might get extended to 6 months, 7 months. Then when that happens, when you go for a checkup, you're like, oh, they're gonna do a surgery now because you don't read the whole paper. Then they tell you, oh yeah, we scheduled it next year. Your surgery's next year, not next week, not in 5 hours. Your surgery is next year. Or your surgery is, in December next year. Imagine hearing that. Well, if I had a gun, you're right. It's good that we have no guns in Europe, because if I had a gun, I would shoot myself immediately. That is sad. That is sad. The fact that you need to go to a hospital and wait 5 months for a single checkup, for a checkout, for when you go to when you have a newborn baby and you need to go in and wait months to get for them to check out your baby, your newborn, your infant. That is sad. When you prioritize illegal immigrants that are coming from Islamic countries where they worship a pedophile warmonger who had sex with a 6-year-old named Aisha, where their form of heaven is where you get 72 young virgin boys to have sex with. When you go in and worship a religion where they worship pedophiles, where they worship killing Jews, where they sing songs. If you meet a Jew and a Jew or a Christian, if they don't convert, slit their throat immediately. When they sing songs where they want to kill you for being a Christian or a Jew, or for even having Jewish heritage, or for just being an atheist, where you have videos from Gaza, Palestine, a non-existent place, doesn't exist. When you have videos from Gaza where they're grabbing women or grabbing homosexuals or grabbing trans people, and they put them on a building and they throw them off of a building, and they film how a fucking homosexual person falls to their death 100 fucking feet 100 feet tall building. When they throw off gay people off of buildings, when they throw off women off of buildings, when they slit throats of Jews and Christians on videos, when they promote jihad. I've witnessed this. I saw this. I looked it up. I went to the darkest darkest parts of the internet. I went in and I saw videos of. It seems like a guy. It seems like a guy, carrying a knife and going walking towards some guy. That guy is a Jew or a Christian probably, or he's just not a Muslim. And they put him down onto the ground, and he grabs him by the head, he grabs his hair, he pulls his head up so his neck is exposed, so his neck is stretched out, and he grabs a knife and he pursues to slit his throat on camera while this jihadi Muslim music is playing in the background. Incest bullshit. When that's playing in the background and he's slitting the throat of this Christian or a Jew or an atheist, anyone who's not a Muslim, he's slitting his throat like this. And he doesn't just slit his throat, he slits his throat, lets him bleed out, then he chops his whole head off and he walks with his head off into the distance. The camera zooms out. It is a 10-year-old boy who killed this Jew or a Christian. So when you are saying, no, we need to keep this healthcare socialized, we need to keep these benefits socialized, no, we need to stand for this instead of that, no, America needs to fund this, just know you are promoting kids killing you, kids killing your family, kids killing your neighbor. Because it's not just grown ups, it's kids, it's everyone. It's kids from Gaza or Iran. And not every single person in a Muslim country is a terrorist, but every single guy who's a genuine Muslim in those countries is a terrorist, rapist, and a pedophile. Those people need to be exterminated. I'm not saying that we need a genocide against anyone. No innocent civilian needs to die. And every innocent civilian that died in a war in Gaza, a war in Iran, a war in Iraq, even in Vietnam, in any country where there's innocent civilians, that is horrible, and we need to strive for better technology, which is brought to us by free market capitalism. We need to strive for more technology so we can avoid innocent people dying. But these people are our main threat. And if you're against Israel, if you're against America, you are evil. You are standing on the side of terrorists. If you're watching this and you're saying, no, this is wrong, we need our socialized benefits, I need to pay 50% taxes on everything just so I can afford, going to a hospital and then waiting a year and a half for a single checkup. If you want that, first of all, you're stupid because you want to give half of your money to the government and you want half of the money to go to socialized benefits and half of the money to be sent out for garbage so they can trans your kids, so they can completely kill the Christian ideology in Europe. It is sad when we see this. This is sad. This is unbelievably sad when we see this. And Europeans are going to go in and say, well, we don't need guns. Well, we want socialized healthcare because we don't want to pay for expensive healthcare owned by private companies. We don't want that. Well, you're not paying more. In America, let's say hypothetically you went to a surgery and that surgery costed you $100,000. That's a big amount. Let's say actually $20,000. Unless you had a couple of those surgeries in your whole life. If you had a couple of those surgeries in your whole life, that's going to cost you a couple of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars, right? In Europe, but you're not going to pay taxes for that. So you're going to be able to pay that money for that healthcare. Uh, in 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 Europe, you're gonna go in and you're gonna say it's free, even though I gave 60% of my money to the government. Or if you're a rich guy or you're just successful, you're gonna give even more than half of your money to the government. That is sad. That is insane. That is a robbery. And people say it's not a robbery, just paying your fair share. Well, first of all, if I acknowledge that, well, wait, I'm rich. Wait, I don't want to pay all of this money. Wait, I'm getting taxed more than the others. Why do I need to fund illegal immigration coming into this country? Why do I want to fund uh, uh, Islamic killers coming into my country? I don't want to fund this. If you say that, and you say, I'm not going to pay my taxes, guess what's going to happen? They're not going to say, it's okay. We acknowledge. We acknowledge that. Even if you, that's not what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen? In a week or less, there's going to be people walking with, guess what? the thing that you cannot have, walking with guns into your home saying you need to pay this or you're going to jail. They're going to grab you, put you in handcuffs, and put you in jail. You have an option to pay that or go to jail. So it's a complete robbery. And we have stupid Europeans. And when I say stupid, I actually mean stupid. I don't acknowledge these people as smart because they're not smart. They're not smart. They were never smart. We have these people who watch. Uh, Europeans. Look at this. Europeans. Say guns. Everyone everyone in America is dying because of gun violence. That is completely and utterly not true. That is a lie. That is statistically not true, and that is factually incorrect. That is just factually incorrect. That is completely factually incorrect. In America, this is from 2023. We're gonna just go full screen, and we're gonna go scene one. In America, nearly 60. What is this? Nearly 47,000 people died in 2023, according to blah blah blah. Right. So nearly 47,000 people died in a year because of gun violence. Right. Gun violence. We're gonna ignore that they throw in suicides. We're gonna ignore that they throw in, you know, this person killing this person in self-defense or in this. They throw in bullshit numbers. So this is not just you walking down the street. Hi, I'm a random American. Bang, you're dead. This is not that. This is all a bunch of murders with guns. So 47,000 people die because of gun deaths in America. You're gonna say that's bad. We're gonna ignore that 3 million people get saved. So you're telling me that you would rather want those 3 million people who were saved because they had a gun with them. You're saying those 3 million should die because these 47,000 should live. Your whole idea is we should sacrifice 3 million people who wanted to defend themselves and who defended themselves with a gun and are alive now. People who defended their whole family and them from a gang member or a mafia member or a cartel member or a robber or a rapist. We're going to ignore that and we're going to say, no, those 3 million people that defended themselves, they should go in and fucking die. That is selfish. That is selfish. You're pushing your idea, which is going completely against the Judeo-Christian values of America and is going completely against logic and facts and statistics and also is completely against human morals. This is the same thing. If you had a train and it was going in, there was 2 tracks that it can go down, and you can switch from a left track to right track. On left track there was one old 90-year-old homeless guy, and on the right track there was 50 children. You're telling me that we should kill 50 children so that one homeless guy can live. That is ill. That is a mental illness. You're mentally ill. Your ideology is killing Europe. Your ideology is killing Europeans. Now let's remember the number 47,000. And I'm going to say why we should remember that number. It's going to be real simple for you guys to understand this. Let's remember the number 47,000 people. So 47,000 people died because of gun crime in America a year, roughly, even though it's tens of thousands less than that because they put in suicides and whatnot. So 47,000 Americans die every year because of gun violence. Guess how many people die in in Europe because they don't have ACs? Because they don't have ACs, the thing that's running right now in the background. That's why I had to turn the gain up a bit for on my mic so it doesn't clip. In Europe, in America, 47,000 people, roughly, even though it's way less, die every year because of gun violence. In Europe, let's look at this. Every year in Europe, 175,000 people die because they didn't have an AC, because they overheated to death. What is worse? Cooking yourself to death in an apartment and having a stroke and then going to a hospital and them telling you, oh, sorry, sir, we cannot take you into this hospital. We have 5 illegal immigrants who, just got, hurt because they were trying to rape a 5-year-old girl. So you need to wait your turn. We need to be equal. We're Europeans. We sell dildos in our markets. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. 47,000 people in America die every year because of gun violence. Rough numbers, including suicides. In Europe, every year, 175,000 die because they overheated to death, because they didn't have ACs. They are selling you a lie. In America, it's not. In America, thousands more people get saved because they had a gun. People that die, unfortunately, had to die. People that died in America, unfortunately, died. And if they carried a gun themselves, they would be able to kill that evil guy and defend themselves. In Europe, you have an option to overheat to death or overheat to near death and then go to a hospital and wait 5 months for them to, see what can they prescribe you, how much pills can they put you on. And because the European healthcare is so horrible in so many ways, you're probably going to end up, you're going to go for something, you're going to have a serious condition or serious something, and they're going to be like, well, unfortunately, because of this, and this, we're just going to give you a bunch of pills. They're not going to try for a solution. They're going to put you on pills. And I know because I have relatives. I know because I have dead relatives because of the socialist healthcare, and I know because I have members of the family and everybody in the European Union, everybody that has people that live in a country that's in the European Union know that they're just gonna give you a bunch of pills and then they're gonna tell you to go home. And if you want anything, I literally go to a doctor for them to give me pills, and they're like, "Well, you can go, and you have a dermatologist, but you actually went in and got a dermatologist." In I don't know, in December, blah blah blah. I'm yapping. You have a dermatologist next month, right? You're going to a dermatologist anyway. They're gonna give you those pills. So they're that lazy. They don't want to give you those pills. And I'm on my way. I'm driving with someone. I'm not gonna say with who. I'm literally driving with someone to the dermatologist office, which is all socialized. And I get a call. Sorry, we weren't able to get to give you a call last week. We gave you a call before that, but you didn't answer because you're not just on your phone 24/7. You actually do things. Well, because of that, we forgot to tell you that this date the doctor is not in the office, so you need to come home, and then next month you can come. So I mean, this is a complete robbery. Europe is not our friend. Let me remind you again. I'm not even going to tell you the numbers. Look at this. Look at this chart. I want you to look at this chart. Look at this number. Look at this. Look at this number. And then look at this number. Look at this. Look at this number. And then look at this number. If you actually don't see anything wrong with that, there's something wrong with you. Europe needs to wake up. Europe needs to get rid of all of their socialist benefits. And I don't mean all. Let's say 90%. Let's say 50%. They're not going to do that. Europe is set to doom. Europe is set to doom. These other Western nations, they need to fall, and America needs to gain from that, unfortunately. Because if they don't wake up themselves, I don't believe anyone can help them. America has been funding this for way too long, and America cannot be doing this anymore. It's not logical. If you're American, doesn't matter if you're 80, 90 years old, 100 years old, or you're just about to get into the workforce at 19, if you just got kicked out of your house. If you are American, no matter your age, no matter your gender, no matter your race, you need to be against this. Because this thing is evil. That thing is evil. That thing is not American. That thing is going completely against American values. That is going completely against also the biblical values that we share. And just know that while that is happening, they're blaming us for 47,000 people dying of gun deaths every year, when 175,000 people a year are dying in Europe because they don't have ACs. So we are funding this. We're funding this. We're funding them, so they're that poor. They're that poor because they need to give all of their money to the government. So they need to, they cannot afford that. They cannot afford that. They cannot afford that because it's impossible for them. They can definitely afford that if they didn't have all of these socialized benefits, which were dragging the capitalist part of European countries to the mud. So basically, if you live in a European country which is a capitalist country on paper, that whole capitalist country is getting dragged through the mud throughout all of those socialist benefits. It's like grabbing pure free market capitalism and then taxing it into non-existence, and then we get this socially democratic garbage. And America needs to keep being against this. And if America just stayed like this and Europe stayed the way it was, Europe will eventually fall. So unless Europe does a move and Europe changes, Europe is going to eventually fall. There's no help for them. I don't know what to tell you. And this is going to be a thing that we're going to talk in the future, definitely, because this is a pretty important thing. This is pretty important for everyone, Americans and Christians. If you don't go in and if you don't fight against this, you're going to be on a losing battle. And unfortunately, this is not a election. This is not, oh man, my candidate lost. Better luck next time. This is going to be, oh, unfortunately, this didn't work out. Everybody's fucking dead. Because that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. If it keeps going like this, it's going to keep going up, 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 and up. The statistics are going to keep going up, 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 and up. And where America pulls the rug, it's going to be death. It's going to be death. It's like not when you're pulling, the table sleeve and there's like a bunch of things on the table because you're trying to perform a magic trick, it can go really bad. And that's what that's what America needs to do. Because if America doesn't do that, it's going to be bad for Americans in the future. But I believe Americans are pretty smart. Americans have historically been proven to be the smartest people on earth. And I believe they're going to, they're going to cut this off. And I believe that's going to be good for Americans and for Europeans eventually. Because Europeans are going to go through a lot of hard times because they were that stupid, because they had all of these socialized benefits. But if America does this, this is going to be great for Europe eventually. And if Europeans wake up, they're going to realize, America was actually right. But this is a long future that we're talking about. But this is affecting you now. This is affecting you in the short future. This is affecting you every time you pay taxes. So if you agree with this, you should follow The Voice of the Republic on Rumble, YouTube, TikTok. On TikTok, we need to change a couple of things. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble. You can listen to our podcast pretty much on every single platform, and that's the funny thing, because you can actually look at our show on pretty much every single platform. It's like we're pretty much on every single platform. There's like not a single platform that we're not on. We're literally everywhere. I can actually pull it up. The Voice of the Republic is officially on Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, Index Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Listen Notes, Player FM, YouTube, Rumble, and it's coming, and it already came to Pocket Cast and to Amazon Music. So you can listen to us pretty much everywhere. If you want actual good information and if you want actual good news, you're going to get it here. We're trying to be much better, and we're trying to, make this company into something really big, and it eventually is going to become something big. Because I'm putting all of my eggs into this basket. Not all of them. I'm putting 90% of eggs into this basket, and then I'm putting the other eggs into different baskets. But there's going to be a pretty interesting year for me. It's going to be a pretty interesting year for the Voice of the Republic. We're going to have a lot. We're going to also create more IRL content. We're going to create, straight interviews talking about politics in the European countries, because unfortunately that's where I'm at right now. But I am in Europe right now. I'm not going to say where, but I'm going to a country that's in Europe that I actually kind of agree with its politics when it comes to free market capitalism and immigration, and also gun rights. Of course, that country is not as good as America in those things, but still that country is, we can all acknowledge those things and say they're going in a right direction. Now, they won't go in a right direction every single time, but when they do, I'm going to give them their flowers, and when they're not going in the right direction, they're not going to get the flowers, and I'm going to criticize them, obviously. So thank you for watching The Voice of the Republic. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. If you're European or American or Middle Eastern or African, doesn't matter. Does it get 5 views or 100 views or 1,000 views or 1,000,000 views? I hope that you learned something from this podcast, because if you didn't, you did learn. If you say that you didn't learn something, you still did learn it. You just don't want to acknowledge this news because it's breaking your reality, because your reality was a lie. Thank you for watching The Voice of the Republic. See you next time.